If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First, it's free. Second, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. This episode has been sitting on my mind since I started the Uncomfortable Conversation podcast. I thought that this episode would have been in the first season, but I still had a lot of growing to do as a person, mentally, emotionally, and quite conventionally. Before getting started, I want to give out some valuable information. SuicidePreventionLifeline.org is the nationwide prevention network with over 160 crisis centers that provide 24/7 service via a toll-free hotline. That number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, that number is 1-800-273-8255. Available to anyone in a suicidal crisis or emotional distress. Talk to someone now. Survivorsofsuicide.com. It is said that time heals all wounds, which is not necessarily true for survivors of suicide. Time is necessary for healing, but time is not enough. Shared feelings enrich and lead to growth and healing. Head over to survivorsofsuicide.com. The website is available to help those who have lost a loved one to suicide resolve their grief and pain in their own personal way. Talk to someone now. Let's get into this episode. Welcome back to the Uncomfortable Conversation podcast. I'm your host, you know that one guy, joined by the Uncomfortable crew, Marsha Reed, Mr. 10K, and our Bayesian Boo. Here on the Uncomfortable Conversation, we're expressing our views, opinions, and thoughts on controversial topics most aren't ready to have. So pour yourself a glass, get out your comfort zone, and join us as we get into it. Welcome back to the Uncomfortable Conversation podcast. I'm your host, you know that one guy. This week, I'm not joined by the Uncomfortable crew because this topic right here, it hit close to home, and I wanted to talk about it. Mental health. It is Mental Health Awareness, and I apologize for this episode being so late, but this is probably one of the realest and rawest moments that you will have me on this show, and probably one of the most vulnerable times on the show that I think to date I have ever been. In 2016, I lost my brother to suicide. And my family, we all decided to take blame for a part that we played in my brother's untimely death. It was one of those realizations. Here it is, 2021, and I'm just now realizing, no, I take that back. I'm just now saying it out loud that I don't think that there is anything that anybody in my family could have done to help him. Which brings me to prior to my brother taking his life. My brother, Antonio Dijon Carter. This episode's for you, man. My brother Antonio is my mother's youngest boy. My mom had 6 kids. She had 3 boys, 3 girls. And Antonio was the baby boy. It's hard losing a family member. It's even harder being the oldest sibling and you lose one of your younger siblings, because in our mind, we think that we're supposed to protect them. And that's just the role of the oldest, to be the protector, to take care of her when mommy and daddy's not there. Like, it's just not an honor, but it's just like an unwritten rule or job that's bestowed on you when you are the oldest child. So many different responsibilities come with that. All right. Before 2016, my brother, he graduated high school. And after he graduated high school, he was like, hey, I'm going to go to the military. Now, prior to him graduating high school, I was already in the military. I think around this time I was stationed in Maryland. Yeah, I was stationed in Maryland, serving in the Navy as a military police officer. And, around this time, I found out that he was going to the military. He said he wanted to go to the Air Force. Now, this is a story that's within our family that not too many people know about, but my brother walked into the recruiting station for the Air Force, and he took the test. He didn't study. He just walked in, picked up the pen. Sat at the computer or whatever, took the test. Boom, came out, and the guy was like, wow, you almost got a perfect score. He was like, what? Almost perfect? He was like, can I come back tomorrow? He was like, what? No, dude, you good. He was like, no, my mama gonna be mad if I don't get a perfect score. And the recruiter like, what? Okay. So my brother came back the very next day and took the test and aced it. And that's just a soft flex on how intelligent he was. Like, he didn't study. He just had this natural intelligence and charisma about himself. My brother went off to the military, got through basic training. He got to his trade school where he was going to learn how to do his job. He was stationed in Texas. When he was in Texas, I think he was at his happiest, but he was also at his loneliest. It was probably one of the first times that he was so far away from home by himself. And after that, it was pretty much like that separation from being around family and all whatever, the demons that he had growing up. We really didn't see it like that much. So after he left, it was more like, after he left the military, it was more like, yo, and I'll be the first one to say, take blame and say, I didn't do as much help as I could have. I just was like, hey man, I try to blame his acting out and the way he was moving. I tried to act it on him being young and immature, and that it was his current situation. He really didn't have a good job. He was, couch to couch or whatever. And, it was just a lot. I think that was a lot to deal with for somebody his age, not knowing that he was suffering from PTSD, anxiety, depression, I think he was diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, schizophrenia. I didn't know this. These are the unseen demons and the unseen battles that we don't ask ourselves when we see a family member or a friend or somebody going through something. So he went and lived with my sister. He crashed her car. He snuck onto her military base. He was just causing a ruckus everywhere he went. He came back to Cleveland. He he enrolled into college. He got his money from his FAFSA, and we turn around and he's all the way in California. And we're like, wait, you were just in Akron. You were just going to school. He's like, yeah, I'm in Cali. I'm out here trying to do my American Idol thing. We got him back from California because he was like out there by himself. He ain't really have much going. He's hungry. We just got him back to closer to family members. But while he was out there, it was the first time he tried to take his life. He jumped in front of a train, the rapid train. We call it the rapid here. It's just the train. Fuck it, the train. And it got hurt and everything. And, we had got tape from them saying about the incident, and it wasn't like he tried to lie to us and say he was pushed, but the incident was on video and he wasn't pushed. So we got him back to Georgia, and he was down there with my mom, and my mom tried to get him help, and he was like, yo, fuck this, I ain't doing that, blah 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 blah. We got him back up to Cleveland. Now when he got back to Cleveland, he stayed with my sister, he stayed with some cousins and family members, and then somehow my sister was like, I'm moving, I got this going on. I think at this time she was pregnant with my nephew, and she's like, oh, I can't do this. Boom, dropped him off at my house. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, look, man, you ain't got to pay no bills. Just get yourself together, man. Like, if you need to get a job, boom, boom, boom. If you need money, I got you, this, that, and the other. And I kind of saw it was frustrating because I kind of saw it just didn't look like he was trying. And I was frustrated with it because I was working every day, here, there, whatever. I was always busy, and I felt like he wasn't busy also. And I was like taking my frustration out on him, like, yo, man, you see me working hard. I'm not asking you to do nothing. I'm just asking you to stack your money up and get yourself, get on your feet. I ended up moving out, and I was like, yo, listen, I'm moving out. I gave him like an 8-month head start. Like, yo, I'm moving out around this time. Try to get your stuff together, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. This is 2015. And for the next year, he bounced around from couches. He went to the homeless shelter. He did this, he did that. Disappear, go drive. He ride to Pennsylvania on a fucking bike. He was just everywhere. And then Halloween of 2016, my mother called me. And you know how they say, you remember where you were when your world stopped spinning? I was sitting on the couch. The kids are downstairs. The Halloween thing is going on. I'd have made some chili cheese fries. And I'm sitting down about to watch the TV. My phone rings. It's my mother. And now my mother never calls me late like that. I just answer the phone and she's just crying. All I can remember her saying is, they found him. They found him. Tay, he gone. And I see myself dropping the chili cheese fries, standing up, going downstairs. I lit the woman I'm dating at the time. I'm like, yo, I gotta go to the morgue. And she's like, what? I was like, I gotta go to the morgue. Her best friend's there. They are passing out candy. We like, yo, she like, you got the kids? And she's like, yeah. And I think this is the first time everybody really saw me emotional. And we are on our way down there, and it hasn't really hit me yet. We get outside the morgue, and they're not letting anybody in because it's like late at night. And I asked, like, yo, listen, I'm just trying to check and see if my brother, I got a phone call. I'm outside. I'm like belligerent. I'm disrespectful. I'm emotional. I'm angry. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. And they was like, what's his name? I give him his name. And they're like, hold on. And they come back out. And they're like, yeah, we identified him from his dental records. And we notified his dad 2 days ago. So couple days ago, I lost it. I'm emotional. I'm crying. I'm this. I'm that. I'm torn. I'm angry because I'm supposed to protect my little brother. This, that, and the other. And every reason I could think of, I put it all on me. My mom is on her way up from North Carolina. My aunt is in Texas. She's on her way. Like, it seemed like everybody is... I remember everything that was going on, but it was like everything was moving in slow motion, but super fast at the same time. And it was like, I remember us sitting around talking about, he had some problems. He had some problems. The entire time, I love my family. I love us. And it was like we all kind of tried to take blame. And it was something my aunt said. She said, that boy gonna do what he want to do. We all knew she said we all knew what the fuck was going on, but we kind of ignored it. You know what I'm saying? That's our fault for ignoring it, but he did what the fuck he wanted to do. He wanted to go when he wanted to go, this, that, and the other. I remember my grandmother was sitting on the couch, and this was like my grandmother sitting on the couch, my late brother-in-law, he's standing up playing with the kids, something's on TV, and there was like this kid on television. Only three people who saw it. Some kid on TV, they in the park, playground, whatever, jumps off of a bridge. It was simultaneously my grandmother, my brother Marcus, and myself. We all look at each other. My grandmother like, it's time to go. And I take her home or whatever. We in the car, we talking, this, that, and the other. And it was hard. Like, besides the day of me finding out, I think I didn't show emotion until I made the funeral reservations. I let the rest of the world know that his funeral, the time set, this, that, and the other. And that's when I cried. And when I cried, I guess everybody was looking to me for strength. I cried. I started crying. My mother lost it. My aunt pulled me to the side and she like, yo, everybody's leaning on you right now. Yo, you got to man the fuck up. Like, you can't break down right now. Your mama needs you. Your mama needs you. Your mama needs you. And it was one of those, all right. I'm a man up. Not knowing that I'd be dealing with the effects of it almost 5 years later. I said all that. I told that story because it's very personal to me, and because the uncomfortable conversation was started because of that. We were all scared to have this conversation, to try to, talk about my brother or get him help. We were all scared to have that conversation. And then after that, like, just a series of fucking events, just one after the other, like we lost my brother in October of 2016. Literally 11 months later and some change, we had lost my grandmother. We lost multiple different members of our family, like pinnacle members, like cornerstones, like my uncle, from 2016 up until currently, my family has lost, I want to say it's north of 50 people. Close people. Not like cousins away from cousins or nothing like that. It was like people. And it got me to thinking about, we don't talk about mental health enough in our culture, in our society. We try to play it off like, He just acting out because he ain't got no job. He just acting out because of that girl. She acting out because her baby daddy, this, that, and the other. We really don't put enough emphasis on mental health, PTSD, anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, everything. Like mental health is real. I have been in therapy off and on since 2013. 2020 was the most consistent therapy I've done besides after leaving the military. And we always talk about the suicide prevention hotline. I'm going to leave information in the description about getting help if you have plan on hurting yourself or you're thinking about hurting yourself. They're open 24 hours. They have over 160 locations, crisis centers that you can go to in the country. Their phone number is 24/7. What we don't talk about is the survivors of suicide, the ones who have to pick up the pieces after we lose someone, after we lose a friend, a family member, a loved one, a significant other. And that's survivorsofsuicide.com. A buddy of mine, Travis, what's up, man? He told me this story about him losing his twin sister. And I'm like, damn. He was like, after I lost my brother, Travis was there from wherever he was stationed at. He was there talking me through it, like just talking to me. And it meant a lot. Like all of the people who were there for me at that moment, that was one of my most vulnerable moments I have ever had in my life, besides the birth of my children. And I wouldn't put losing a family member on anybody, someone who's close, someone who looked up to you, someone who has children named after him. My son is named after him. My niece's middle name has his middle name. My son, Caden Antonio. My niece, Alea Dijon. Like, we just need another sibling or somebody to have get a kid named Carter. We just gonna do it like that. But this is an impromptu episode. I know that I've left y'all hanging for a little bit. We're not gonna do the ads. We're not gonna really do our normal ads this week. We just gonna give people the information that they need to get themselves together, get help. I will be dropping another episode soon. And yeah, so I apologize, y'all. Look, like when I say this is me at my most vulnerable, like y'all don't understand. Like I didn't bring the Uncomfortable Crew for a reason, because I wanted to give y'all me in my full form. But Jesus, here we go. Y'all know how we do it over here. If this podcast has helped you in any way, we thank you for listening with an open mind, honest opinion, and a good heart. This has been the Uncomfortable Conversation Podcast. I'll see you next time. Peace.